Hi, can you hear? Can you guys hear me? Okay, I am checking to see if we are live. This is the first time that I have used this software. We did do a mock test in the afternoon, but just wanted to make sure. Okay, if we are live, can someone message me that we are live? All right. So I am just checking on my Instagram account to make sure that we are live. I see that we are live on YouTube. I have multiple laptops and gadgets open, like you can see, which I have to. I don't have an option. All right. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Harleen Baga, and we're coming to you live on behalf of Soul Therapy with Harleen Baga. This is our series for to celebrate Women's Day, where we are going to be talking every week to an esteemed guest, and we're going to get their opinion about things that are very much related to us as women. That was the whole idea of doing this series. This week, we are focusing on pediatrics, and we have with us a very young and a very successful and a very ambitious doctor, one who I have known as a friend more than a doctor. Welcoming to the stage, welcoming on screen Dr. Priyanka. She is a MBBS gold medalist. She is MD of pediatrics. In fact, she is amongst the one of the youngest people to actually have attained the designation of a medical director of a private hospital, which is the Provice Hospital in Hyderabad. Okay, that said, if we
Yeah.
are done about that. Okay, so Priyanka, do you want to tell the guests how we
Yeah.
met? I mean,
So
how?
I should first thank Herlene for such friend love filled introduction rather than a professional introduction. One can really see her friendship towards me in her introduction, though all of them are on paper or on the record right. But it also takes a true loving friend to acknowledge them the way she did. So I'm here with a Herlene. Herlene is my friend since 5 years now. I and Herlin happen to cross in the same gated community we both live, and it's good that as the universe manifests, two like-minded people gel along. So though we were so strangers to each other, different realms of life, different aspects of life till then, we happened to talk about few basic social aspects, and we found how we could each other be such a good talking points at least, and then it became a very good friendship. And here we are to all of you to present our friendly professional platform. Make it a fun filled friendly professional platform. We want it to be as scientifically professionally right, at the same time we want it to be friendly and loving and humane aspect as well, rather than just a professional aspect.
Exactly, exactly. All right. So that said, let's just dive into the pediatric part of it, okay, Priyanka? Because
Yes.
that's where we are here. Let's
Yes.
inform our audience and educate them and empower them first with what are the common issues that children today are facing, right? And what
Yes.
can we do about that?
Yeah. So, one important aspect in pediatrics per se also, just like in adult health, for a long period of adult health history is confirmed, or the treatment aspect and addressal aspect was concerned, it was always looked at the physical health first, the illness first, and slowly it started to come towards wellness. And then they realized that the true health lies in the mindset of a person, how happy a person is, how satisfied, contented, understanding a person is about his health, and his life will surely reflect on his health or healing capacity. That they thought, because an adult stays worried, adult starts thinking about things, and that's why a mental health is an adult concern and not a pediatric concern. Then with the science evolving, and as we doctors started to focus on the mental health, we also then figured out, and we also pointed out many mental health issues in pediatrics as well. At the end of the day, he's also a human being with a brain of his age group, but still, even that brain, that mindset has to run properly, rather than a disordered or something unfelt, ununderstood in his mind to himself. And the parents and doctors and teachers always concerned about the physical growth and not the mental growth, because they were ignorant about it. Till then, the awareness aspects about that, or the talks about that, were less. So as we human beings evolved in our lives and in our anything, as we evolved as human beings from the medieval era to what we are now, likewise the health aspect of human being is also evolving. And then now we are on the verge of realizing the mental health of a child as well, at different age groups, 0 to 18 years. They also need a very good mental support, mental health support, addressing it in the right way, not disregarding it as just a childish behavior or totally a pathological or a disease oriented condition. It goes hand in hand. At times there could be some disease or internal gene that is making them behave like that, but most of the times it's also about how they are being guided, how they are being understood and talked about and talked to. Not make them feel bad that you're being a bad child or a wrong child, you're not supposed to do this, you're born in a family like this, or you're supposed to behave like this. Need not be. A child's mind brain is again an individual mind and brain. It can pick up anything what society is offering them. Family need not be offering them always, but because they are our children or a society's children, it's responsibility of a society and the family to take care of them as an individual child. And more so because he's a child, we can't, not even an adult, he has to cross a category of 21 years or 25 years to attain that self cross checking himself. Till then, he is just observing, imbibing whatever the society is throwing at him. So that way, child mental health has become a very important aspect of child health. And again, as friends, we and Herlin just accidentally happened to talk about the type of cases or the mental health. Then we saw this large big area to tap in, and hence let's start some awareness sessions, friendly awareness sessions like this to our friends around on the YouTube and Instagram or social media. That's where we started this first meeting of ours to all of you.
Okay. So that's very important. I want you to, dear audience, just bring your attention back to what she said, okay? The important highlights of what she just said, and I'm just reflecting here for the benefit of our audience, is that very often, as parents, we dismiss the medical or the mental health of our children, right? We call it a behavioral component. We dismiss it as a behavioral component in response to them growing up, or in response to the environment or the stress environment around them and all of that, correct? And we the anxiety that they're feeling, we think of it as normal, while some of it is normal. And I'm not saying that everything needs to be looked under the magnifying glass and you have to run to the professional for every small thing that happens. That's not the kind of care that we work on. In fact, both of us are associated with the Provice Hospital, which really focuses on preventative care. And that is something that we're going to be talking about in a few minutes, about what you can do sitting at home for your child, as a parent, as a well wisher, the things that you can do to look after them preventatively. But just to finish the reflection that I started, make sure that you are giving your child a form of gentle parenting, which is very important today, right? How do we know that someone is sick? We know someone is sick when medically there is some kind of a symptom. But what happens to the mental symptoms? What happens to the emotional symptoms? Are they not symptoms? When a child's behavior is out of sync, when a child's behavior is not normal, and mom, you know what is normal, right? In your heart, you know what is normal. So when you realize that the behavior is not in sync, think about what the issue might be and just seek Talk to someone. That's all you have to do. Talk and see where that conversation might take you. But that said, let's come to the preventative care of the conversation, Dr. Priyanka. What I want to ask you is, what are the few things that we can do, in our day-to-day lives to take care of our bodies physically, medically, clinically?
Okay, this is a very, of course, though many guidelines
Vast
have
topic.
yes, yes, and
I'm
many
sorry.
that's
Three
okay,
things,
no,
maybe three
yeah,
things or five
yeah.
things.
So
Yeah.
anybody, for
Yeah.
anybody, if it is adult or child, of course, see, the right diet constitutes 80 to 90% of it. If it is physically, the many, I'll tell you a simple example. Many believe it's the exercise, they can eat anything and they can go and exercise. It's not. We see we see many athletes who are always exercising, who are always working out, who are always on their feet in the ground, but still to reach their ranks they have to cut down their diet totally, reach the right diet, and then only then they make it. We see many laborers who always work, but if they are eating fried food at their home, that they are very wrongly obese. I know many of the laborers who work around, we know them, we see them. Only if they're eating right, they're their muscle tone and everything is right. But in spite of the same work being done by two laborers, if one person's diet at home is not right, and though they are not genetically determined, but the other person's diet is right, by some reason, then she's perfectly fit and the other person is perfectly fat. I'm sorry for calling it fat, but just to medically and common colloquial language of calling it. So diet
Understood.
is very important. There's no point in ignoring it or covering it under some five-star hotel's recipe or something else and going and junking up. No, once in a while fun is fine, but regularly a very regulated disciplined diet is compulsory. We are all human beings. We are all bound to be disciplined. We can't take our anything, wealth or anything for granted and harm ourselves in the name of fun. At the end of the day, every fun lasts for a few seconds, but the damage it does will can scar the very beautiful human life long term. So first important thing is diet. Because it's physically, I have to call diet the first important thing. Mentally, if we go mentally, and of course mentality has higher impact on physicality. How you think, how you keep your mind, how you keep your thoughts is very, 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 very important. By keeping them, by thinking about them, there are hardly three, four aspects. Be positive, but don't be over, don't close the doors of the reality in the name of positivity. Focus on yourselves, correct your mistakes day, one mistake at a time. At the end of a month, look at yourselves. If you're focusing, just you cross check yourselves, you don't need anything else. As a famous quote said by Swami Vivekananda, a concentrated mind can never do any mistake, it seems. Or even I agree, but let me quote that great personality. If he said, then it should. He said, a concentrated mind. That's all. He didn't say anything else. A concentrated mind can never do a mistake. He didn't say that concentrated mind has to have a degree, has to be an Stanford University, has to be an Harvard University. No. For you to be successful, you first, very foremostly, need to have a concentrated mind, as simple as it is. But then it has to be spread or talking about so much, because for human beings to attain that, it has become that difficult. Because why? We focus more on the exterior, on the second person, third person, than we focus on our work and ourselves. What the other person is doing, why the other person is doing, what sort of comparisons we draw become more important to us, unfortunately. Anybody who could overcome them and understand their own life, their own problem, and can sit calmly for an hour and can very easily figure out their problem, if they're not attaching the negative things like envy, jealousy, greed, great comparisons rather than the reality comparisons, then it's easy.
Yeah, but
So
here
what?
we are talking about kids, right,
Okay, you
Doctor
said, yeah,
like Priyanka. Yeah.
yes,
So let's talk about kids right now, because that
yeah,
specifically is what the conversation
yes,
is. Correct.
yeah,
So the
yeah,
conversation is, hey, preventatively, how can kids stay healthier? So the
yeah,
first thing is, hey, diet. Second is
yes,
exercise, because exercise, I
yes,
completely agree. Even as a psychotherapist also, what you just said, that uh, having just 20 minutes or 30 minutes of outdoor play, you
yeah,
get your
yeah,
vitamin D, you get your
yeah,
all your positive stuff happening. It does help you de-stress and help your body regulate the cortisones and the stress hormones better. Correct, that
yes,
is exactly what you were saying. But besides that, besides diet, besides exercise, because exercise and diet, I guess, is important. Third is, you're right, focused mind. That's why Vivekananda quote was very nice, which means that we have to engage our children in a positive way. Essentially, that's what it is, folks. Correct? It is in, let's engage our children in a positive fashion. But otherwise, what else can we do?
Yeah.
Besides that,
So I
like
have to say,
maybe take vaccines, maybe
yes.
yeah.
No, no, I was about. So when though we were talking about the kids, the question from you came as a generalized question, and hence I had to go. But sorry, maybe I missed the term kids, or maybe
No, that's
that's okay. So yes, yes. So that's okay. And one more thing, because of the screen time and because of the same not regulated mindset, children are not finding enough sleep. I see many patients coming to us and asking for some sleep medicines to their kids, or do something about the sleep of our patients, of our kids. And that's really really very bad, because a kid needs higher sleep than an adult. The growing mind, the learning mind needs higher rest than adults. And if that is not hygiene in the duration of the sleep and the quality of sleep, we can medically call it sleep hygiene. So that is another very equally important crucial aspect. So here comes the third thing. One is fitness, one is mental fitness, the other thing is good sleep and good diet. So these are four important things. And for the fitness, like good diet includes proper water intake, though it can be categorized under diet, but many forget about water. Because in kids, I commonly see this problem again. When kid goes to a school, he has a problem to go to washroom, because he has to undress his school uniform, which has 3 4 layers to it and a belt to it, and not comfortable to go to school washrooms, which are in a private or sort of public places like school. In the worry of that, they tend to drink less, because the urinary urgency will come, so they don't drink
correct.
water. So this sort of mindset about the total scenario, where they have to be addressed, it, ki don't bother about it. You have to. We shall ensure the hygiene of the school campus by talking to the right team, but you have to, and don't bother about the layers of the clothing. You have to do and undo and do yourself. It's a small exercise. That's a part of a school discipline. We have to respect the uniform, but we can't stop a basic thing like using washrooms just because you have to undress a belt. I have heard it. He has no patience to undress a belt, so he'll avoid going to, and hence he will not drink water, and that's very wrong. Mainly urinals or addressing to motion and toilet. In other words, both of them kids many very number of times they delay it, they're not interested to attend to it, they want to postpone it, and that causes many problems to them. Because again, when the stomach is loaded with the stools, it's not healthy, and because of that they feel gaseous distension, not comfortable internal body milu we call it, and hence not focusing, and hence not eating. All this cycle, it keeps on, it keeps on only becoming more vicious, till somebody will explain this to them and make it a habit to them to address these things step by step. And kid has to develop that habit of being okay with it and attending to them normally, physiologically, rather than depend always on extra syrup to use them or extra sleep medicine to sleep. No point in chemicaling up ourselves with drugs. When things have to be
Agreed.
naturally addressed, they should be naturally addressed.
Actually, that's a very interesting point that you have raised, Priyanka. I did not even think about it, but obviously, in your practice, you have, like
Yes.
you said,
Yes.
you've heard so many children tell you such
Yes.
a simple thing that as
Yeah.
parents, even me as a parent, I have never regarded that, because I've
Yeah.
never come across that excuse that I'm lazy to go to the bathroom. But it
Yes.
makes sense, because even me as an adult, if I'm going on an outdoor trip or if I'm traveling, I'm also not drinking water. Why? Because I have to go. So it is common sense, right? We don't
Yes.
apply that
Yes.
common sense to sometimes our kids. We just take it for granted. So I think the biggest takeaway is then to educate our kids and encourage them to use the bathroom as often as they can and stay hydrated. That's key. I think that's a critical point of well-being, is to stay hydrated, and that
Yes.
well-being is not just physical well-being, even your mental and emotional well-being is directly synced to your hydration levels. Anything else, Priyanka, do you want to share with us?
So this is the talk
What
about
about,
general.
okay, what
Yeah.
about older kids? Have you had an experience to deal with adolescents?
See,
Like,
almost the same category. They don't eat on time, sleep on time, exercise on time. So all these things are the five basic big factors. Once a human being, young, adult, old, even a geriatric 60 plus age group person, stays disciplined about these five things, the major discipline is already imbibed in their life. The life will roll on easily from there, because they don't discipline up themselves in these five things. Everything else will take time, everything else is consuming their time unknowingly, because they're not simply organized, because these five are disorganized. So
it's
even in
actually, that's very
yeah,
well said. Very
yeah,
well said. Yeah.
see, if
Even
somebody is, yeah, so even an adolescent, 17-year, 18-year-old, for the same categories are the same, but the reasons they would focus will be different. Why he's not attending to the sleep, he could say a different reason from what a 5-year-old is saying, but he's not sleeping. Why he is not
correct,
eating, he likes french fries, 5-year-old likes some other cheapos, that's okay. But bottom line, they have their reasons to not attend to right food. So
correct,
likewise, so
correct.
in fact, that's why I said, irrespective of the children, pediatrics, even for the adults, we know many adults who want to be disciplined about all these things, but they take decades
Cannot.
to reach. They take decades
Yes.
to reach these points.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many people don't reach also, but then
Yeah.
that's a different topic. I think that's
Yes.
for you and me to discuss.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you have mentioned that because children not sleeping, right? And I'm going to take a segue here. Children not sleeping on time, like she said, reasons could be any, right? And that any is where the umbrella of mental and emotional well-being comes into picture. To give our children, again, I used the word gentle parenting earlier, and that is something that I as a psychotherapist use that a lot, right? Teaching and guiding parents, especially when I'm doing behavioral therapy for children. I have clients who have I have kids who have come to me as young as 10 for behavioral therapy, and then they go up to, like, 12, 13, 15, 17, young adults, and then adults, and so on and so forth. But what this entire gamut of dealing with people has taught me is that our fears and insecurities can come in at any time, correct? And when we ignore our fears and insecurities, that's when the real problems seep in. And how, as a parent, can you know that a problem has seeped in? By checking for delta. What is the delta? Where is your child going off track? Number one, is your child not being able to sleep? Number two, is your child resisting from, let's say, going to school or going down to play or going and meeting a group of friends? If there is resistance, there is a reason. And you, as a parent, need to not bully your child and say, really? I mean, are you scared? Come on. So what if they're bullying you? So what if someone is troubling you? Be a man, be strong, go down. That kind of handling, when your child is afraid or doesn't know how to handle it, it's not going to make your child more stronger. Think about it, right? When you're afraid of something, is your husband or are you being forced into doing that? No, you are taking the time and effort to figure out a strategy in your head, to build the strength in your mind, and then do it. Likewise for your child. When something, again, when there is a delta, and you see that there is a delta or there is a deviance from the child's normal behavior, please know and be aware that there could be something wrong. And just here, let me give you some facts. Do you know that in the last 2, 3 years, the amount of cases for young children has risen drastically? Like, we have seen a 34% increase in young kids, and we've seen a 24% increase in older kids. But the point is that this over the years, this has been increasing again and again. But what does that tell you? That tells you that things like anxiety, things like depression, things like ADHD, I can't say anything, but things like depression and anxiety and stress, overwhelm, this can actually be engaged and handled by parenting, right? By the environment at home. I know you guys don't know, but that's the whole idea of doing this. In fact, like Priyanka, you and I were discussing, I am actually launching a parenting workshop on March 25th online for the out of city parents and March 26th for in city parents, where we are actually going to be addressing simple issues. Things like, my child is addicted to the gadget. How do I decouple them? My child, the environment at home is full of stress and frustration, and I don't know how to handle my child anymore. How do I address it? How do I parent my child? How do I get my teenage daughter to listen to me? How do I get my child to become more confident? How do I get my child to overcome their fear of people, social anxiety, and stress? So, simple things like that. Do you have anything to say? Do you think this is a good? Do you think this will be something that will be useful, Priyanka, as a doctor for the
Sure,
parents?
sure. Yeah, of course, of course. That's what, of course, very much. Parents, yeah, even everybody, either parent or a child, everybody need a reminder about these, even about basic day-to-day activities or day-to-day corrections they have to do. And if it is professionally done by a dedicated person who has researched about it and scientifically gathered the information and doing something in a scientific approach, it saves a lot of time and effort on the parent's side. Though the parent thinks and believes, and that's right, that they know their child well, they can address their child well, fair enough, as long as they are confident about their addressal and as long as they are seeing the improvement, fair enough. But if they're not able to, then sure, you, given your educated status, given your any approachable status, you have people like all of us who are working ourselves hard, trying to be as scientifically gathered as possible to help the society out altogether. It's a mutual thing for all of us to grow as a society, to focus on mental aspects or mental health like this and seek out to approaches like this for sure. Because parent is ultimately again busy in taking care of his own professional career, which is very much important. I really believe, as anybody, me as a doctor, somebody else as a engineer, MBA, or Hadley as in her area, everybody should focus on our career for us to be helpful to ourselves and to the society around. If a bit deviated aspect of our career, like we do take care of our children, but if it is consuming more of our time and we are not scientifically gathered there, because not because we are not professionally gathered there already, we are professionally gathered in a different area, there's nothing wrong in seeking a person or approach which who is already professionally sitting there since the time. There's a reason that person is sitting there for since the time and doing good or working on a society conscious aspect to make it aware or to make it approachable to everybody else. So it's very important to approach or go to aspects like that and make all of our lives easy to ourselves. Why should a mother burden herself with an aspect which is taking a lot of her time than needed, and again sort of not be happy with the result, sort of not be waste all the time of her life and her child's life, and yet why not need it? Everything else is very approachable to you, and I'm sure all of us now as a society have grown to the stage that we understand value of each and everything. We understand value of an hour, we understand value of the mood of that hour a human being lives in, we understand value of the decisions a human being will take a particular hour. Even a
Right.
particular hour's wrong decision, wrong act can impact and not needed. We are not in any non-educated society or a back like we a society which was 20 years ago, 30 years ago was a different society where so much of facility was not there. Now it is there, thankful to all of us as a human society race did have a forward look towards such aspects. Though they seem small, those seem no big deal, but they're not. If these are healthy, the bigger ones will not happen. If these are healthy, when we end up ourselves in a bigger trouble, then everything else is more such a facade there rather than here. Here it's easy to approach, easy to handle. It's a cakewalk here, rather than make it a more unacceptable mountain and trying to move that mountain will not happen then that's a disaster to life that none of us want to walk into a disaster, but everybody want to walk in towards a preventive mindset. That is what we have been trying to, we have been trying to reach to your preventive health aspects through addressing all of you through these small awareness aspects. It's a small aspects. When we do not think about them with focus, we think Is it even a thing? Is it even a thing? But no, it is. Total world now. When we see guidelines by American or British guidelines about the medical health, they are forming guidelines about all these things. How once in 3 months a human being has to check himself or check through a professional consultant like this, check their child or check through a professional consultant like this to prevent. Everybody as a doctor, once you're in a doctor field, medical field, anything in this field, finally we will have satisfaction if we prevent a illness rather than let a patient suffer in a suffering phase and see his suffering every day. No point. We clearly see we give a temporary suffering relief, but we also see how long is it going to take for them to come out of the suffering and what all he will lose during the suffering period. But if we prevent it, we could prevent all of such big calamity and we feel highly noble about it. And that is total world is doing that now. Individual organizations like Center for Disease Control, WHO, World Health Organization, UNICEF, everybody are focusing on this. And hence even I started my journey. I was a gold medalist, more of a science oriented, book oriented person. I still am, but I feel the satisfaction of preventing a cancer rather than treating a cancer. Likewise, preventing a mental higher abnormality rather than treating a mental higher abnormality. When we address anything and it's very very grassroots level, as a very old saying says, you can bend a plant when it is a plant but not when it is a tree. As simple as
Ex-
that is. As simple
ex-
that applies to everything. That applies to the growth, that applies to the development, that applies to the mental aspect, behavioral aspect, everything. If a child
exactly.
has practiced himself to be a particular person for 1 year, how difficult will that be to mend his brain now? Because we say practice is a secret. Practice is that magic miracle. Now you use that magic miracle in a wrong way. What are you doing it to yourselves? But you do not let a child practice a wrong mindset. You're preventing that much amount of, and you're using the same miracle in the right way.
Correct.
Just to quote a religious context, I'd not like to call it religious, but it can be called a religious context. I would simply say, Lord Krishna was once asked about what do you think is that magic that we could do to win this? What do you think is it magic? Different people in different areas, realms of his life. To everybody, he'll answer only one thing. It is a work you do. So that work is nothing but the practice you do to yourselves. So practice. He'll say to Arjun, Karo, mehnat karo with senses applied. He'll say to Karna also the same thing. He'll say to Yudhishthir also the same thing. He'll say to his enemies also the same thing. Why are you focusing in the wrong area? Anyways, you're working. Let that work focus on the right area. But when their enemies or the people who do not listen to him, we see what has happened in the Bhagavad Gita or in the very famous book Gita, and those examples are there in different religious scriptures, different cultures. All of us, all of those great teachers, did taught us the same thing. When you go and see
Correct.
Bible, when you go and see Allah, when you go and see Guruji, uh, everybody would say the same thing. And this famous thing, Kal karo so aaj karo so ab, very famous Guru Nanak quote is again about the type of the work, mindset of the work, how you work. So practice.
You have mentioned a lot of good things right now, right? The most important thing for me, I'm sorry, I'm actually trying to um, so people actually unfortunately cannot really see us on Instagram, uh,
That's it.
because yeah, because I think our faces are truncated and the aspect ratio of the one stream that we're streaming on is very big. Okay, I'm sorry, dear folks. I did not know this. This is the first time I am using one stream, so that is
Yeah.
my mistake as a technical error. But thank you so much for letting me know. So someone actually wrote saying that we cannot see your faces, and that's the
Okay.
reason I picked up the phone to do that.
Yes.
But the important thing is you are looking at our content. I mean, you are hearing our content, which is most important. We are also live on YouTube at Soul Therapy with Harleen Baga. So if you want our faces, you can probably see us there. I don't know what else to do. Okay, but coming back, the um, the important thing that Priyanka just said right now is that preventative care is key, right? Because it is easier to burn a matchstick, like burn out the fire from a matchstick, than it is to burn out the fire in a forest. Correct. So which means that uh, and given the pandemic, given the mortality rate that we saw in the last 2 3 years, given that we saw how how things are not really, things don't go planned, right? We think that we have a lot of time, we think that we have things in control, we think like we know everything, but really nature takes its own course. So sometimes it's important, and she used a very good word, uh, gather, right? So gather knowledge. Is that what you use? That's the word you
Yes,
used, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting use of the word gather. And I'm just reflecting back so that y'all realize the beauty of what she used, right? She said, gather the knowledge uh, where it is needed. Because as professional, you are professional, you know what you are good at. But to give your child the best, which is something that we all want to do. And we are in this together to create a community and a society where our children are well taken care of, where our children remain healthy and become the best versions of themselves. Isn't that one of the reasons as to why we are working so hard? Isn't that one of the reasons why we are pushing ourselves to earn so that we can give them a better life, a life that is better than maybe what we received? We don't want them to face the hardships that we got, right? So, to that effect, it might not be a bad idea to reach out and gather information that can make you and empower you to become a better parent. Empowerment also means acceptance. It means also accepting that I don't know everything. Yes, I might be a director of a major company, I might be a director of my team, I might be super intelligent, but that does not mean that I know the best way to parent or that my parenting is the best way. Isn't that right, Priyanka?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Many times, I think
yeah,
as humans, right, we let our own ego and our own success unfortunately hinder our ability to seek help,
yeah,
hinder our ability to grow
yeah,
also.
yeah.
Okay, do you want to talk? Because I want to drink some water.
Sure, sure. Yeah. So another better way, exemplary way to represent the same thing is today in US we see a culture where everybody has a therapist, and we are saying it in a positive way, not in a negative way, because they have realized it's good. No matter how much we calculate and do the math and aftermath of everything in our own minds, if there is another qualified, equally good professional who is ready to open up to everything and keep our confidentiality and help us, being a professional, equally educated, same, gathered the scientific approach to do it. They want to have that, just like how we have a fashion designer to others, we have some help to take care of this, that. They're not even calling it help, they're calling it an extra hand to make itself, make their lives more easy, comfortable. Because why err and waste an year to realize that error? Instead, speak to somebody, save that time, make it a progressive growth to each other, in a way, as a society. So that, as we see even big CEOs having one own personal therapist, for we call it therapist or a seeker for some advice seeker, like this, whatever your term could be, anything, the intention is what we are talking about. So if it
Okay,
applies to a highly successful CEO who would have reached there by a lot of understanding everything only, they are not just reached there as machines, they have reached there as human beings who have lot of emotional, mental mapping all throughout, and attained a particular level in their life. They own themselves, they themselves know many solutions to the problems mentally or physically they could be suffering at this point of time. But still,
correct.
they want to take an extra hand to make the next journey more easier, to make the next journey more error free. Why risk, commit an error and learn it? Instead, preventively have an extra hand, discuss with the extra hand, and resolve if any minute minuscule thing. Why not? Why not? At the end of the day,
Why
at the end
not?
of
I agree.
exactly. So at the end of the day, and all of us know that the very CEO who is doing that, or the parent who will do now, will very much know that if they are misguided, they can very clearly know. So they will think and choose a right person, the right guidance. Nobody is asking them to go and use any wrong solution. But if they are taking a solution, we are not, we ourselves are highly empowered and educated to realize how good it is or bad it is. So
Correct.
trying once and realizing is not wrong. Why should any sort of judgment should stand in the way of such trial? Either it's for your kid or for yourselves or for anything. And
Correct. Correct.
yes, so if you're doing it to yourselves and you're choosing an extra hand for yourselves, though you are completely accomplished in many things, Then what about a kid who still has to go through this sort of Shark Tank, where there are sharks, fishes around, fish eat fish town, dog eat dog town. Nothing wrong. It's a competitive world. At the end of the day, it is a materialistic world. So be more careful. Nothing wrong in it. Be more preventative. Nothing wrong in it. But have an approach to be and do good to oneself and to everybody else. Though you are surrounded by sharks, you be that human being. You be that lotus who will spring out of any sort of pond. You be this flesh flowering, blooming lotus. By calling it a world, materialistic world, or a world full of sharks, we don't mean to be judgmental towards them. We mean to be realistic about the world we are living in. We do not want to close our eyes and say that nothing is going to be wrong to me, and then spoil our own life at the cost of our, whatever we want to call it, optimism. There's no point. Let's be practical. If that practicality involves being positive to take a step, let's do it. If that practicality involves being cautious to take a step, let's do it. There's nothing wrong in being cautious. So, and hence the word the word caution goes with prevention. The word caution goes with cross checking each and every step with a professional diction. So that professional diction can be your therapist, can be uh, whatever the name you want to keep. Do it. Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, so we are already at 40 minutes. So very
Yes.
quickly, what I want to do at this point right now is I want to share with the audience the common things that I am seeing in my field of children therapy and the common problems that you're seeing in your field as a pediatrician, right? Uh, so, so do you want to start, Priyanka?
Anything else? Yes, yes. So
Okay,
in children, the common mental aspects actually differ with
not
age.
mental.
Yeah,
Okay, you want to talk
physical.
about mental?
Huh.
Yeah, I was just talking about clinical. Yeah, or you
Okay,
can
okay.
talk about both. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah. See, physically, it could be, if physically, again, it depends. If they are belonging to a class where they're already taking right nutrition, then most of this is a basic common cold sort of things, common cough, cold, basic things. If they're genetically already a bit challenged, then fits are one of the commonly happening genetically determined mal things that happen in kids. And if they're not having the right diet, then either too thinness, not growing, or obese and growing horizontally and not vertically will happen. It depends. So
Okay,
categorizing
so
them.
let me pause you here for a little bit. What is the most common deficiency that you're seeing in our children? Let's empower our parents a little bit, right? Like, what
Huh,
is the
huh.
most common deficiency,
So
nutrition wise, that you're seeing?
exactly. So what I'm trying to say is, one vitamin D is very common, but
Okay,
आजकल थोड़ा vitamin D, many oils are getting fortified with vitamin A and D. So
okay,
few by knowingly or unknowingly they use those brand oils, and hence they're not falling to it. That's why I'm saying, depending on the category they are. Vitamin D,
okay,
as a scientific logic, can definitely be the most commonest because they're not playing like earlier. The school environment has shrunk, the school place has shrunk, the school hours have become more towards IIT coding coaching rather than physically allowing them to grow or play around. And
understood.
the sun exposure has very much decreased because of the screen and the playstations and whatnot they try to sit inside a home and do. So scientifically, vitamin D deficiency to hona hi tha. It is on the way. It has come. But then
Okay,
we are fortifying it in the food, or preventively doctors know that it is happening, and to a section of category of people a doctor is addressing it already, they do not have that deficiency that way. But
good.
because if you understand the social and cultural aspects of the society is already going, then it's avoiding some by doing some or the other thing, knowingly unknowingly, then there is a vitamin D deficiency, the commonest. Vitamin B12 can also be equally deficit, but again, if a child is more of a non-veg oriented person, then that's not happening. The yogurt people are eating from outside. Logically, it's not healthy. I and Harleen would never address for anything outside packaged food. We prefer as natural, as fresh as possible. But because it's an outside food, and they want to maintain certain standards, they are fortifying it with B12. So we article I'm seeing high B12 values in people who are eating yogurt outside. Children are like somehow liking few flavored yogurts outside, and they're
Correct.
eating it, and that is in fact rising the B12 beyond a permissible limit. Again, see, not needed. Unnecessary actions, unnecessary motives in them. Not needed. We better stick to stay as natural as possible. In that natural, if possible, try to keep it as organic as possible. Do not give hormones to the animals. Do not feed animals the wrong thing. Feed animals their healthy diet so that they'll produce health out of them. address it there rather than addressing it in buying some chemical, some drug, or buying some fortified food like this. So these two are the commonest thing. There's a rural section of India where their diet will be very less of iron rich food. In rural India we find iron deficiency very very commonly in children, and many do not have a notion. Many think adult iron standard is also the child's iron standard or hemoglobin standard, but that's wrong. Child's hemoglobin is on the 14, 15 that side, adult hemoglobin 11, 12. So I see children with 10, 11 hemoglobin, they don't heal. Basic cough cold also doesn't heal in them, but just simply I improve the iron, and the mother comes back telling we're so happy. Till these many years, every time a cough cold happens, it's a turmoil to us at our flat, in our home. But now just this, and they heal in 2 days, 1.5 day, with basic remedies. That simpler a solution it is. Just give iron, the required iron content, but it makes a
Exactly.
huge difference. Yeah.
Exactly,
So
right? Like I was going to say iron, exactly. But what
yes,
about caffeine? Because the reason I'm asking is with the exposure, right? And with this cafes coming in and everything else happening, most of the kids, especially the young adolescents, right? And they start very early,
yes,
12, 13, 14. They're then beginning the caffeine intake. And I'm
yes,
talking about the bad kind of caffeine, it's not a
yes.
healthy doses.
Any caffeine is actually bad. If we see few other people who address this sort of thing, like Sadhguru is one person who is completely no caffeine person. He's right in addressing it that way, because it's a stimulant. Brain needs calmness. Brain has to work in a calm environment. You can't poke a brain and then think that you are thinking. Poking is not thinking. You can't pressurize it with caffeine. Caffeine will stimulate everything inside your body. If you have a tracker, if you have a heart rate tracker, respiratory rate tracker, many phones come along with it these days. Post caffeine, you just check your heart rate. It will be pumping like anything. Why do you have to pump your heart, which biologically at a basal rate, God or the body, nature has given it to maintain a basal rate? Now you're drinking something and making it work, run like a horse over nothing. You do not have a target to reach. You're making it run. The same applies to mind. It thinks faster, it acts faster, but that is a chaotic thinking, not a calm thinking.
Correct.
Another very good example, or a quote that is again there in many religious scriptures about this. I can say, because I learned it from Gita, so I can quote Lord Krishna about it. That whenever any person, his disciples used to go to him and ask, he used to say one simple example: go and try to see your reflection on a pond which has flowing water. Can you see your reflection there clearly, your shadow there clearly? They said no. Then
Uh,
why do you think? Then why do you think your
Clear
mind,
water,
which is,
you said?
yeah, no, I mean the wavy flowing water, pond which
Okay,
is
flowing water.
wavy,
Yes,
wavy.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
saying a muddy. I'm not saying a muddy water. I'm saying a water which is not still, but it has a ripple on it.
Okay. Okay. So
What
disturbed
stand?
water.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, yes, yes. So you can't see a clear reflection of your image on that. Just
Correct.
like that, a mind which is not clear, which is not calm, can't think straight, can't form a clear decision or thought. Best example. So caffeine is something which will stimulate your mind in a wrong way. You feel that energized. Energy drinks will have caffeine. Every drink will have caffeine. Every outside drink you have, majority of them will have caffeine, but that's very very wrong. In children, we see hyperreactive disorders. Even textbooks mention it. Many scientific textbooks, journals mention caffeine being the cause of hyperreactive attention deficit, lack of
Correct.
sleep. The first commonest reason, we always, textbooks always or journals always mention causes from the most commonest to the least commonest. The first answer will be caffeine. Just to not forget the most commonest thing, that the cause for hyperreactive, if any caffeinated drink is being given to your children, avoid it. The cause for attention deficit, if any caffeinated drink is being given to your children, avoid it. Sleep lack, same thing. If you are giving any caffeinated in the late nights or any time, in fact, bruxism, we see teeth grinding sort of thing, etc., in sleep in children
Yes.
for the caffeinated drinks.
Correct. What
Yeah,
about sugar? So we'll just do sugar and then we'll take some audience questions. So
sure.
I know sugar has a lot of sugar is a hidden demon also. In fact, sugar is hidden everywhere in everything that we eat. Anything that is processed, anything that is packaged comes with sugar. There is no doubt
Yes,
about it, right?
yes. Many preservatives in this processed packaged food are different forms of sugar, which will not be digested inside your gut, but they'll add up to the bulk of the gut and disturb the internal lining of your gut. At times they'll be digested and again have a very wrong effect on your sugar levels, diabetes levels. They make one pro diabetic also. A child can become diabetic or become pro-diabetic because of unnecessary sugar he's getting, either because of his sweet tooth or because of the packaged food he's having. So, a very slowly dissolving sugar, like a brown sugar, like a jaggery, like a honey, is a very good alternative to sugar, and one should go towards that area. Our society, in a particular, when we were more organic, that was the sugar we all used to use. But then it
Correct.
became more refined. In between, there was a total refined section and everything. The wheat was refined, it became maida. The sugar was refined, it became white sugar, like that. Now,
Correct.
again,
Correct.
people
Correct.
tend to learn out of the mistakes they do. They realized why is the disease rate rising. They went and cross-checked. Again, going back to the organic era, now we have access to a lot of brown sugar, jaggery, honey. So choose that. Fair enough. Everything is fine with them.
Correct. So what I just realized, the reason why I'm leaning like this, in case you're wondering, I could see in your expression, because when we're leaning, then at least they can see our faces on Instagram.
Yeah,
So when you
I
lean this way, yes,
yeah,
which is
because
why I
I
was leaning this way.
yes,
Yeah,
that's okay. I didn't observe that
yeah,
change. That's I just yeah,
yeah. Because when you and me did the test this afternoon,
yes,
I did not check
yes.
for our faces, right? Because I just checked.
Yeah,
Right.
but here on this screen, which we both are having, the visibility is good for me. So hence I didn't point out. I didn't realize that the audience were not able to. I didn't know that.
Okay, that's all
Yeah,
right. No problem.
yeah,
Anyway, so are there any audience questions? Thank you so much for joining us. I think we are done. We can keep going, but we would love to hear from you. Do you have any questions for us? Something that we can help answer? If you, even if not now, even if some question comes to mind, for instance, go ahead and drop a comment and tag me and tag Priyanka. I will go ahead. She's already tagged on the post. So go ahead and tag her and tag me and ask whatever question it is, be it related to pediatrics. Maybe your child is sick and you don't know what to do. Maybe it is to do with mental health. Maybe it is a deviant. See, one thing I have to tell you, mental health is about mental, emotional, and behavioral changes, right? So mental means how you think, emotional means how you feel, behavioral means how you act. So when a child is unable to think, feel, or act, this is, and that is your trigger, that is your flag as a parent for you to
correct.
ask yourself, where, how can I help my child fix, overcome this deficiency that they are facing, right? That deficiency may be in thought, that deficiency may be in feeling, that deficiency may be in behavior or activity. Because everything is not really medical, everything is not really clinical. We don't have to wait for a fever to come. Sometimes, like Priyanka was saying, preventative care is the best care, right? Which means that learning on a day to day basis what to do, how to do, and what to avoid can actually make life, uh, hunky dory for all of you. Make sense, Priyanka?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
Yes.
I think we are done. Thank you so much for joining in. And because I know Priyanka has to go, she's in the hospital, and the nurse is coming again and again to bother her. So I'm going to let her go. Thank you, folks. It's been a great start to the March series. And I hope you guys can join me next week, where I will be talking to Aishwarya, who runs a second inning consultancy. There, we're going to be talking about how you can restart your career being a woman after having taken a break and a sabbatical. So send me questions if you have in advance, and we will make sure to answer those questions and help you restart your career again. Thank you, Priyanka. I appreciate your time. I know you're so busy. It's like 8 o'clock and you're still working hard. Thank you for taking care of our children. Thank you for
Yeah,
being a important member of our society. All right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
Take
for
care.
thank you for the social media space and the thought to let us in. Let us, it's Herlene's
Nine
brainchild idea.
seconds.
Yeah, done. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the thought to start it this way. We had been planning, but Herlene took the first step to make it happen. So that's nice of her. So thank you.